Howdy, folks. So this is one of those. Should I even be doing this kind of videos? Uh, I'm still gonna do it. Uh, I want to talk a little bit about responsibility. It's not really something that people generally like to do, to preach to the general public about basic virtues. But there's been a good bit of attention in psychology in the past decade or so, largely spearheaded by Marty Seligman and the positive psychology movement, to look at virtues. So we've been looking so much at bad behavior in a sense, unpleasant experiences, negative behavioral patterns, personality traits, and so forth. And some of what I've done already has been to pay a little bit of attention to some positive things like resilience and mindfulness and so forth. I want to talk a little bit about responsibility and conscientiousness. Now, I have to confess that I've struggled with these issues a little bit in my own life, and I also have to confess that one of the reasons that I'm making this video today is I just had two clients who should know better, just not show up in a row today, and it just got me going. And if you read my blog, I don't talk about anger so much in these videos, but I have written about it a fair bit in my blog. And I was angry because, well, I have this rule in my head that adults should be responsible, and if they don't make appointments, they should call to cancel them in advance. And of course, maybe I'm going to end up really regretting this when I find out that it was because someone died or something. But when you have two in a row, it's improbable that both of them are because of something like that. And actually, 80–90% of the time, it's just because someone forgot, which happens, and we all do it. And yet, there's something so, I guess, it'd be fair to say, infuriating to the average person about behavior where someone is asking for help and then actively or passively rejecting it. One mentor of mine called it help rejecting behavior, and it is just something that is infuriating to other human beings. And it's also something that we can expect because that's part of the human repertoire. And I'm sure I've done it in some form too. But this responsibility and conscientiousness thing, gosh, I can't tell you how important it seems to be in terms of success in psychotherapy that people actually show up, and then that people are actually willing to do something to follow through with things that we talk about in therapy. It's really those people who do the work. I know some of you out there are cringing and hating me for saying this, but sorry. Or maybe I shouldn't apologize. It's really doing the work that gets the work done. I guess that should be obvious. And yet that's so much of what is going on in at least our culture, and maybe it's universal and it's human, and I'm sure it's come up in Greek myths and other places that human beings want something for nothing. We've talked about that before. I've talked about that before here, about wanting your cake and eating it too. So another angle on that is just underestimating how important responsibility is. I believe Woody Allen said, 80% of success in life is just showing up. Probably don't want to marry your stepdaughter, so I don't want to elevate Woody Allen too high on a pedestal there. I do think he's funny though. But yeah, 80% on success is showing up and giving it a shot. And when we just don't show up, invariably we miss opportunities, and often we damage relationships when we could have just shown up and done an imperfect job. So there's this kind of relationship here between this demandingness on the one hand, and Albert Ellis talks a lot about demandingness, as a factor in psychopathology. Things should be a certain way. On the other hand, wanting to have your cake and eat it too, to have a shoehorn with teeth, and there is no such thing as "They Might Be Giants" song goes, wanting things that don't exist, wanting things that can't exist. And on the third hand, which I'll put up here, this issue of perfectionism, and that sometimes leads people to not do something because they can't do it perfectly. So I'm not really going to engage with this because I can't do it perfectly. I'm not really going to meditate because I can't do it perfectly, and so forth. And finally, on the fourth hand, I'm getting a lot of hands today. On the fourth hand, this issue of responsibility as the answer to a lot of these problems, that if I'm responsible, if my locus of control is internal, if the buck stops here, if, as Pema Chodron suggests, Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron has a number of slogans that she suggests people repeat to themselves throughout the day as a mindfulness exercise. One of them is something like "consolidate all causes to one," which really means me, that I'm the one who is responsible. This is not, as I'm sure those of you who've watched my videos know, this is not the same as the law of attraction, which I can't say enough bad things about. What it is that there is a portion of what we do that actually influences our lives. I don't know if that's attraction or what, but it's actually, someone once said, actually, someone quoted their client very wisely put it, "The grass isn't greener on the other side of the fence. The grass is greener where you water it." I'm wondering whether I'm really going to post this video. There's something very smug about this, and it's as if that I don't do this too. I do it too. Okay, let me come clean there. I do the wrong thing a lot of times too, and I do the easier thing when the harder thing would be the better thing, and I'm irresponsible sometimes too. I'm not here to really talk about that, but I am here to say that we think of mental health as this kind of passive process that just kind of happens somehow, that my life just becomes a mess. And I don't mean to undercut the idea that there's a lot of mental health that's not in our control, because I'm the first to say that a lot of it isn't under our control. Human language just generates psychopathology, that human language gets us into trouble in various different ways. And I'm sure this is another example of how human language gets us into trouble. It would be easier not to take responsibility for this, we think, and so then we don't take responsibility. I guess I'm just here to say, let's not underestimate how terrifically important responsibility and conscientiousness are, and that in a part is to praise the many, many people I've worked with who've worked really hard in therapy on the positive side, and for whom it's paid off enormously, not because I'm so brilliant, because I'm not because I'm so skilled, because I'm just okay, but because you worked so hard and did so much for yourself. And I'm really just slinging the aphorisms. I just know I'm going to take a lot of flack for this one, so bring it on. Come on, let's have it all. But God helps those who help themselves. Kind of an agnostic, but the laws of the universe are such that if you do a lot of work on your own behalf and a lot of self-advocacy, you're going to get something back for that in all likelihood, compared to if you don't. And I do appreciate how difficult it can be. Well, maybe that's a rant, maybe that's useful, maybe it's not. I have a feeling it's going to go up online, and that's why you're watching it, because I like to stir things up a little bit, and I did get a little ticked off today when I had 2-3 events in one day with a theme of people not taking responsibility for themselves. So thank you for listening to me vent on the one hand, and on the other hand, I hope that I've been reasonably articulate that being responsible, if you're a responsible person, cut yourself a break. You're doing what a lot of people aren't willing to do. Your mind may be very critical of you. In fact, some of the most responsible people are the most self-critical people. And your mind may be viciously critical of every little deviation you make from being 100% responsible. I'm just here to say you rock. I love responsibility. And I think it's going to take you far if you're a responsible, conscientious person. And if you're not, consider cultivating those traits. Because they're the part that you get to do. They're the part that you have some control over. Unlike our neurobiology, unlike the basic ways that the universe works, the basic ways that human language work, so, our society, any number of things around us that we don't have control over. All right, I think I've preached enough. Bring on the rotten tomatoes and the Boston cream pies. Please, Boston cream pie on my face. That would be yummy. Not what my doctor ordered, but whatever. Be a little irresponsible of me to eat such things.